I've been in your waters. I'm looking for sure. I've never been so close before. It's one way or the other.
Hi, I am the magical performer, Joe Fury. And today, we are going to present to you the Daily Show, Lunch Therapy. Come on inside and join us in the fun. Someone yell, cut. Cut! Cut!
Hello and welcome to Lunch Therapy. I'm your host, Joel Marshall. Today is Interview Friday, so I'm really glad to have you all here. We have an incredible guest today. Just so you know, Interview Friday, every Friday on this channel, Joel Marshall's Lunch Therapy. Please like and subscribe. We have interviews with interesting people. A lot of times they're performers, sometimes they're authors, directors, all kinds of different people on the show. This show is about keeping your creativity and keeping your mind right and about community. Please feel free to put a question or a comment in the chat room. It's a very interactive show. That's one of the benefits of being a YouTube show and not a Netflix show, is that we can interact with the audience. There is a squirrel. This is my backyard, and there is a squirrel back there. He is doing his squirrel thing. It's my wife's squirrel friend, she calls it. Squirrel friend. Also, I'm going to be going to a show on Monday. Anybody wants to go to the Elysian Theater, we're going to be going to see Stand Up and Clown. We had Chad Damiani on the show, and he was talking all about that. Check it out. I'll be there. Kamala will be there. Let's go there and see what happens with all the mayhem. Let's get into this thing called Lunch Therapy. Today's guest is Jet Eveleth, and she is, you're just going to be blown away by her. Let's get into this thing. I'm going to get myself a modem. 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 All right, I'm back. So this is the show. We're gonna breathe at the beginning of the show. Every show. Lunch Therapy's been on for, 558 episodes, something like that. Every show, we take 3 deep breaths. With the chat room, I invite everyone, including our guest who's in the chat room or in the green room with Boney right now, to take 3 deep breaths along with us. Today, we have this incredible sound bath by someone named Soul Resonance. We really appreciate them allowing us to have this on the show while we breathe. Here it is. All right, so this is Soul Resonance. This is a channel. We usually have healing vibrations on, but today we have the Soul Resonance. If you want to go over there and subscribe on their channel and enjoy their sound bowls. Now we're going to breathe, and we're going to take it in through the nose and out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Feel free to move while listening to the relaxing sounds. Hold it. Let it go. Our guest, Jet, is in the green room with Boney, and they are dancing around. This is a new thing. Boney's warming up the guests with a little bit of interpretive dance, which is really nice. Please like and share this show, pass it around, because we need community out there. We need community in this world, and this is a place for us to come Tuesdays, Fridays, commune with one another. We've had a lot of really great people on the show, but also really great people in the chat room. The chat room, we call them the hummingbirds. Hummingbirds are comedians and people out there that are doing amazing things too. And we get reports, especially on Tuesdays, we get reports from the chat room. Hoity hoy, there's Todd Lee, Friday before a long weekend. Thank a vet this weekend. Yeah, it's Veterans Day. Get out there and thank a vet. All right, now I've got another musical interlude before we get to Jet. And this is a kind of a clown musician. And his name is Len Solomon. He has agreed to let us play his beautiful music on the show. So thank you to Soul Resonance. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. And let it go. This is Len Solomon. He plays something called the bellophone. The bellophone. Hey, Len. Yeah. How's it going? Good to see you. I don't know what this instrument is made of, but it's incredible. This is actually a cover song. Oh, yeah. Seems appropriate for today. All right, check out his YouTube channel, Bellophone. A lot of cool stuff there. All right, now Jet Eveleth is going to be coming on the show. I saw her first in her show called Three Sisters, which is not the Chekhov play. Claire Woolner was in the show with her. We saw it at the public display of Altadena a few weeks ago, and I'm telling you, these clown performers are just kind of blowing my mind. There's an electricity in the room. There's a participatory quality to the show. There is the idea that something is happening right now, and we don't know what's going to happen. Like when you watch a football game or something other than theater. It is more than just improv, because improv, I feel like sometimes the performers are having more fun than the audience members. But in this, it seems like everybody's having fun, and there's also a sense of danger. Like, in a way, like something's going to happen. The danger is not that someone's going to get hurt. The danger is someone's going to be embarrassed. And these performers put themselves out there in a way where they defy all social norms and put themselves in a kind of a vulnerable position. And I'm going to talk to Jet about that here, but also about how she came to being the performer she is, because she's really an incredible performer. Howard says your opening backyard squirrel scene was so peaceful, pure martial Kamala. Yes, that is what we aim to do around here, give you a break from the crap and be peaceful. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about Jet, because she's so eclectic. It's hard to nail her down. But she performed in Las Vegas in the show called Absinthe. We're going to have to hear about that. This show was called Risque, Dangerous, and Mind-Altering, Poetic, Beautiful, Inspiring, and Insulting, and the greatest show on earth. She also directs something called the Highland Park Clowns, which is an ensemble that explores theatrical comedy. And she runs something called Clown Church, which is an open workshop that offers performers the chance to reimagine comedy through the lens of a clown. She has various shows that you can see. I mentioned the one that is going to Edinburgh, the Three Sisters, not the Three Sisters you're thinking about. And let's get on to this thing, because I'm going to let her talk about herself, because it is like reading the encyclopedia trying to tell you about her. If anybody knows what an encyclopedia is anymore. All right, now we're talking. Now we're going to have a guest. All right. Yes. So excited to have you on. Welcome to Lunch Therapy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you here. I got to say, and I was saying this in the beginning, we were just blown away by that show, Three Sisters. And I know that there's so much more as I've delved into just even learning about you. I'm like, wow. This is incredible. I want to find out, though, and I don't normally just go, tell me about yourself when you were a little kid, but I want to find out this evolution of, because you've been on a journey. You know what I mean? Like you've been on a journey. So can you tell me just a little bit about what your childhood was like and what made you want to become a performer?
Joel, I think about it, and I wonder if it is our childhoods that make us, or if it's a real, like it really is something deeper than that, like some spirit that lives within us. I'm sure it's a combination, as science will tell us. It's nature, nurture. But I do wonder, if I was raised in a completely different environment, would I still be a clown?
I wonder. Yeah. Would you?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the desire is very deep in me, and it started at such a young age. I fell in love with the sound of laughter.
Oh, yeah. And that I was saying to someone, I think I was saying it to Chad, that there's a different kind of laughter that comes out of these shows. It's a kind of a deep laughter. It's a communal laughter. Yeah. And it is it's a very experiential, present kind of laughter. It's like, you know what I mean? Like in stand-up comedy, there's a lot of laughter. But it's also a kind of a timed rhythm that's going on between you and the performer. But in clown, it is like, we're like, oh, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like that kind of laughter where so is that what drew you to that particular art form?
It's that kind of laugh. It's a deep, cathartic laugh. It's the laugh that people don't even want to give, but they have to give it. I'm real interested in that laugh that transforms us.
Do you think there was something early on where you experienced that kind of a laugh that you were like, I got to find more of this?
I mean, I do remember moments of not trying to be funny as a kid and saying something and getting that laugh from a grandfather. Both of my grandfathers really got a kick out of me, and I was just saying my truth. Yeah. And they thought it was funny. And, when I was real little, my mother had this idea that my sister should be a model. And so she put her in a pageant. And when she got to the pageant, they said, which one are you putting in? And then she said, I'll put all of them in. She had this thought of like, why don't I just put all my kids in? Yeah. Because it would up her chances if this was Vegas, My dad didn't want to do it. It was just like I think like a JCPenney. I don't know. It wasn't like, an expensive thing. You had your kid walk up and down this runway, and there were judges in an audience. And she threw me in. I was maybe 2.5 or 3. And my sister was 4 or 5. My brother was 8. And she said, Jim, tell Jet what to do. And so backstage, my brother said, I want you to go out. And every time you see a bouquet, because there were bouquets all along the runway, he said, every time you see a bouquet, you do a turn. When you get to the end, I want you to look at the judges and blow them a kiss. I was like, sure. My brother's.
You were 2?
3, maybe 2.5 or 3.
Wow. Yeah.
But I idolized my little brother. He did everything he told us. He did a lot of even at a young age in our house, we put on a lot of performances. So it was like, okay, yeah, I know how to do that. And so I went out, and my mother said I was the youngest in the whole show. I turned at every bouquet, and everyone went, oh my God. And then when I got to the end, I blew a kiss, and she said the whole audience went, oh. And then I looked, and my brother had told me, if you do all of this, you'll get a trophy.
Wow.
So I blew them all a kiss, and then I looked at the judges and I said, now where's my trophy? And the audience went crazy.
Yeah, I bet they did. I bet they did. And you, as the performer, you're just like asking where my trophy is. I said
and I remember in that moment,
yeah,
I no longer wanted the trophy. I wanted more of that. And I was forever changed, because I'm not into trophies. You know, I live kind of like a monk who just chooses laughter, you know?
And that was the trophy. That's the trophy. Better than any trophy. Yeah.
It's the healing sound. It's the deep laugh. They were laughing at me.
Yeah.
You know, they were laughing right at me.
Yeah.
But it's such a deep laugh. And I thought, I want to continue to live my truth in a way that makes people feel permission to laugh at me.
I remember that as well. When I was a kid, I used to, I would run around the campfire. Like if we were camping, I'd run around the campfire singing, and they'd be like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm singing around the campfire. And they thought that was hilarious, because it was like a misunderstanding of what that was. But I didn't know why they were laughing. But I did know that they were like really enjoying themselves, you know?
Yes.
And you say,
I don't know if there's anything sweeter than that sound. Maybe great music, but I'm not musical. So I always say comedians are just, you know, failed musicians. We get the second best sound.
Totally. Do you think that that the art form of clown puts you in that same position that you were when you were a little child, because you're trying to achieve something and people are laughing, but you're not necessarily going, I'll do this and the people will laugh?
I just know I'll be authentic and I'll do my best, but I'll make sure that I'm approaching something that is just a little bit higher than my ability.
Yeah.
So I'll just keep missing every once in a while, and they'll just have a good laugh.
Is that the game that people like? I don't know. I've been working with Claire, at least over the email so far. And she said, what is the game of your show? And I was like, nobody ever asked me that. But that kind of makes sense, right? I mean, that's kind of what's going on. There's a game.
Yeah. Well, you know, the truth is there's games in everything, you know, and if you have sort of a pattern mind, you see the game in everything. Pattern driven mind.
Matt Wright says one time when he was a kid, he said, good riddance to some relatives who are leaving. Yeah. And I'm sure people just love that. Yeah, exactly.
It's so great.
So
there's nothing sweeter than that stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing sweeter than that. You know, there's there was a play on Broadway where they got to the previews, and I think it was The Real Inspector Hound. I'm not sure, but the actor was playing the role so seriously, and he didn't realize how much of a comedy it was until they got in front of an audience and everybody was laughing. And there was a point where he finally got so pissed off that he walked down at the edge of the stage and he said, "Stop laughing."
And they went more crazy.
Yeah, and they went more crazy, and they put that line in the play. You know, and that's the best kind of comedy, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I love that.
For sure. Well, I think.
Hold on, this is a weird bumper. I have a way with transitions on this show. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Oh, good.
I think the very nature of clown is it's a bit of S&M for the ego, you know? And so unless there's some S&M going on for the ego, I'm not really laughing from my depths.
So in the show, and I don't want to give too much away from the show, Three Sisters, but you're trying to achieve something from the very beginning, and you keep failing. Do you ever? So you perform the show now, and then are you gonna take this to Edinburgh? This show, it's so much fun, I tell you. So do you think that the acting that you're trying to achieve in this show is like too difficult to attain? You know, trying to make this scene happen.
Well, I think acting in general is one of the most difficult things in the world. To be a really great actor, to really have the bar,
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis, Meryl
Yeah,
Streep
yeah.
bar, none of us will really get there. So what a great journey.
Yeah.
We'll get better.
I like the idea of trying to, write something that's so dramatic that you just could never achieve it. It's so much fun to watch you try. Like anybody who gets a chance to see this show should see the show. So now I'm very interested because clowning is kind of new to me. I've had clowns on my show, many clowns. And in the beginning part of my show, we had a lot of circus clowns. We had Joel Jeske, who's just a master clown. We had Vernus Clear, who's one of the first clowns in clown college. So we're kind of like, we've delved into this, but then there's this whole kind of new form of clowning that's come out of LA. It seems like maybe it's like improv hit circus clown and it birthed a new art form. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, yeah, I think it's also just theatrical clown, what was happening in Europe about 100 years ago, where they realized that this archetype can live in almost any theatrical environment, which is the person who's willing to show their stupidity. So, Chris Farley and Lucille Ball and Charlie Chaplin, they're all clowns, and that's not, just in the past 10 years. But I think it's making a comeback everywhere, not just Los Angeles. I go to Chicago and I hear there's a scene in Croatia, and you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, it seems like it's more than just LA. Yeah, it does.
So it's really popping off in LA, which I'm glad it is, because here I am, and it's something I love so much. I did start studying clown to be a better actor and improviser.
Yeah, that's
And
why.
I still act, and I
That's
still
why it draws
improv.
me. I mean, draws me in. But I also realize it's sort of, and I've been saying this a lot. It's sort of like punk rock, though, where you really got to put both feet in. You can't be like, I'm going to come in here, kind of do this, and then I'm going to take away this for my act outs and my characters or whatever. It's a commitment to, and sometimes you're not going to look good. In fact, that seems to be the goal.
I would say all the time. You won't.
And in LA, we're so, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about you, but when I first came to Los Angeles, and I came from Chicago as well, and I was from Seattle and went via Chicago to here. I felt like, oh shit, everybody's perfect here. I have to try and be perfect, which is a terrible mistake. But there's such a feeling of, and maybe not as much anymore, but there was such a feeling of like, I've got to be a perfect individual. So this runs way counter to that. And do you think that's one of the reasons why we're drawn to it and why it's so popular at this point?
Oh, for sure. It's definitely playing with shadow parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is, that's really a road to peace.
How can you expound on that a little bit?
Well, I think that when we repress parts of ourselves, we are dissociating on some level. So we all have many parts of ourselves, and none of them can completely live in the shadows. We need to look at them, and we need to honor that we are dimensional beings. And I think that as humans, we have the opportunity to have those parts meet and become integrated.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say as humans, as beings, I mean, for all we know, every animal is a clown too.
Yeah.
So, I as a kid, I always really wanted to be a monk.
You did.
It's a weird thing.
It's so interesting because you have gone and studied with some of the, I mean, you went and studied with Eckhart Tolle, with Wim Hof, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about, are you like a spiritual person who's on a spiritual journey through comedy?
Yeah, to me, they don't have to be separate, I think the clown by nature is spiritual because it really rocks the ego.
Yeah.
Which
is good.
And Eckhart Tolle and Wim are total clowns. They're funny and they don't even think they're funny, but they are. They're laughing all the time. Everyone's around them is laughing. That's a clown. I'm just really attracted to people who have huge energetic fields and very, very checked egos. And those are, two people who they're just a pleasure to witness.
They really are something, aren't they? So did you go jump in the cold water and do all that stuff with Wim Hof?
Yeah, I trained with him in Spain, and it was just like the time of my life. Whatever you think it's right. It's like we were jumping into glacier-fed lakes at the top of mountains and running under waterfalls that took your breath away. I remember standing under a waterfall, holding hands with other people because it was so hard. It was coming down so hard. It was at a peak in the Pyrenees in Spain, and we had climbed all day to get there. We had to do actual rock climbing as well as regular, you're just climbing. You get it. You're so high from the elevation. You're with all your friends, 40 other people who have been training all week. And then you walk under this waterfall, and I was holding the hands of my friends. And I remember when it hit me, it took my breath away because of the pressure and the cold. Yeah. And I thought, this is how I die. What a cool way to go. I really thought I was like, I'm holding the hands of two friends.
Yeah.
And because I couldn't breathe. I couldn't, the pressure and the cold, I couldn't breathe. And I thought, but they just kept walking with me, and I got walked out. And I thought, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to die, but I was definitely at an edge.
I don't like cold water that much. When I was in Alaska working at a cannery, everybody was like, let's go dive off the pier. And so we went and dove off the pier, and I did that. I came up, and my body breathed itself, that feeling that you get. And it's like no other feeling. I mean, it's like you said, it feels like you're on the edge of something. And
I still ice bathe,
Do you?
Because I love it. Like I practice at a yoga center that has an ice bath. And when I go in, sometimes I think just the sheer pain of it, I think I'm going to regulate my breath the same way that when I'm on stage and I'm doing something truly vulnerable, it's just as hard to breathe like that, because everything in your body is like abort mission.
Yeah.
This is a death to everything. This is a death to your identity. This is a death to playing it safe. Mm-hmm. This is a death to just taking the easy route in the show and pulling a few jokes. And I'm like, oh, this is the same feeling of just regulating my breath during a time where everything in me wants to abort mission.
Do you have you ever struggled with anxiety at all? Like anything like that?
Not in a way that would be really greater than just being a living organism that's trying to survive. I feel
that just the normal low level anxiety that
feels like, hey, did I shut off the oven? I have that. Yeah. But I did as a kid. I had some anxiety, and I just really created a bunch of habits to kind of get my head around it, because I think everything is just neural pathways, and you always have the invitation to create new ones, but creating new ones hurts like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
No one wants to do them. So most people would rather have anxiety than the ache of changing your life, so you no longer have that level of anxiety.
And after a while, though, don't you feel like you kind of enjoy it somewhat? You know what I mean? Like maybe things changing neural pathways when you first start kind of really struggling with that. But then after you learn that there's a point that is like of resistance kind of in learning something, that if you get through it, obviously there's another one, but you can get through it. And so you start to go, oh, I kind of like this. Does that ever happen to you when you're like learning new things, or like, are you more apt to learn new things than maybe you used to be?
I love learning.
You do. Yeah. You're like a scholar.
Yeah. I love to learn. Like I have 5 degrees, and I'm like, what's my next one?
And what are your degrees in? You have Chinese medicine, right?
I have interdisciplinary arts, a master's in interdisciplinary arts, and a doctorate in integrative medicine. And I just took some postdoc work at Harvard in meditation psychoanalysis. I just love to learn. Mm-hmm.
Do you?
But that's my brain. I love it. So the ache of learning, I love. That's a different ache, and it is an ache.
Yeah.
That ache of learning is real, but the ache of changing old patterns still hurts. Still hurts. It's kind of like when when you're going through a terrible breakup and you have the flu. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's like that's a big. All your attachments. You have to feel them being ripped away.
It's hard.
It hurts.
It does.
I remember my last big breakup. I would just lay on the couch at night and go ahead, find me. And I would feel pins and needles, just lay there and did I like it? Fuck no.
Yeah.
I felt so sick, but I had this faith that it couldn't last forever. And then it didn't. And then eventually a few months later, I had this strange experience where I was sitting with a friend having tea and I went, oh my God, I'm happier right now than I was in the relationship, So all of a sudden the clouds clear. But I knew it would just take time. And then I was like, and then of course it ebbs and flows. There's times where you long for the comfort of something that you once had. And other times you feel the freedom of not being in something that's not truly authentic.
Yeah. Do you ever, how some people say they're awake? That, like Eckhart Tolle in particular, he awakened to something.
Yeah.
Do you ever have that experience where you like awaken and like, oh my God,
I have little moments of it.
Yeah.
I have little moments and boy, are they glorious.
I think that's true. I think we all probably do if we're somehow, being present. We have these moments of being present where we're like, oh my God, I didn't know this was here.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Thank God, because life is challenging. I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people live because I do everything right. I eat pretty impeccably.
Yeah.
I live a very simple life. I rarely take anything on that would make me suffer. I surround myself with only people that are beautiful souls. I meditate every day. I move my body every day. I practice yoga every day. I walk my dog every day. And life can still be hard.
It sure can't it?
And the truth is,
we
are all living like billionaires compared to any of our ancestors. We are all, and definitely compared to most places in the world right now, we are living like billionaires.
Yeah.
And the average person is very poor in mind.
Okay, now I want to talk to you a little bit about your life as an improv artist, because for one thing, I looked at your reel. I want to show this because so people can understand like the talent that I'm talking to here, because these are just characters that you've done in various places. But I think people will agree, it doesn't seem like the same person. So let's take a look at this.
You know what, Alan? I'm getting something right now. I'm sensing a P. Does that mean anything to you?
People?
I mean, are there people in your life?
Yes, there are. And my grandmother was one of them.
I know. We could play house.
Yeah. I'll be the dad.
I'll be the mom.
I'll be coming home from work.
I'll be making soup.
Where the hell have you been? I didn't know you were pregnant again.
I'm not.
I gotta go potty. And I can do it all by myself.
If you don't have a headshot,
I love this lady.
sometimes it's better to use a headshot
So good.
of a friend.
I'm one of those people, I don't support the cotton genocide.
What, genocide?
Cotton genocide?
Okay.
They're saying now cotton is as smart as dolphins.
So I got completely undressed and had him spray me down.
Right.
And then I found out it was an exterminator. I was so embarrassed.
How much can you eat of burgers? But please don't lie to me, like the truth.
I could eat like 2, like good size.
Honestly,
Yes.
that's great. That's really, really, really great.
Oh my God, I love I mean, I love that so much. I thank you for indulging me in playing that, because when I watched it, I was like, wait a minute, is this all her? What's going on? And the characters are so specific, and a lot of them are people that you've met before. You know, I've met these people before, especially that casting director. I love the casting director.
It's too much, isn't she?
But how did you become such a great performer? Did you study improv for many, many years? What drew you to improv? How did that happen?
Well, I come from a family of mimics, and I think part of it is now I just mimic people that I imagine exist too. You know?
Yeah.
Right? Mimic of ghosts. I moved to Chicago when I was 21, and I moved there for IO, which is pretty rare. Most people move for Second City, but I had read Truth
Improv
in
Olympics.
It's and I had done it. I was doing improv in college, mostly because I had wandered by an improv audition, and so people were like, "Come on in," and I was like, "Sure." And then I fell in love with improv.
That's improv right there.
Totally. And then they had all moved to Chicago. Mission Improbable was the name of the troupe from UMass, and they were like, "You got to come to Chicago." I did, and they set me out there. You got to take with this person. You got to take with this person, and I just threw myself in. I was obsessed in a way that, you know, in a way that is truly it wasn't a choice. It was something deep inside me. It was like, I must figure out the puzzle of improv, of long form improv. And I was really lucky to be put on a team that was created by the woman who owned the theater. She decided to make a team by watching all the shows. And she was like, I'm going to pull all the people that I think would be kind of fun to make a team of, I think on some level, like a really artsy fartsy team is what she was. Whether she would say that or not, I think, Sharna, I think you would say this, which is you were making this kind of fun collaboration, and it worked. We all really loved and were obsessed with improv, and we created these beautiful shows that really pushed the limits of what improv could be. And we played with the fourth wall, and on some level, we were all clowns. We are clowns. And so I did that for 12 years. I performed almost every night in Chicago, either rehearsed or performed almost every night in Chicago. And then eventually I had to leave because I soaked up. I'd done so much clown and so much improv there, and did Second City as well, toured with them. And I had an amazing experience. But then I'd sold a pilot. Where I got to play all these characters with MTV. And so I went to LA to develop that. And then after that, I worked on a sketch show with NBC, an original sketch show. So a lot of that stuff from the reel is just from those two shows.
So funny.
And then I left to go do Absinthe in Vegas because I'm addicted to the stage. I love live performance because I love that laugh. And so then I went and did that show, and I did 1,000 shows in Vegas.
Oh my God. I'm going to show the little clip of that just so people know what it is.
Oh, Vegas.
Vegas, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy Absinthe.
What an incredible show that was. Oh my God. Did you feel like you got pulled out of your television career to go do this, or what, you know?
No, I had developed 2 pilots and neither went to series. And then I was told by people here, like, that's really common. Like, you'll probably make nothing before. And I thought, oh, it feels like I'm pregnant and I'm never having the baby.
Right.
And in Chicago, I had a baby every night, you know?
Yeah.
You asked me where these characters come from. These characters come from improvising all the time. What you learn improvising all the time is that your creativity is limitless. And I think that's why someone like Tina Fey is like, I'm not going to wait for someone to create the show. I'll create the show. So it teaches that type of creative independence. And so I was like, oh, I can create my own stuff. And then once I started doing it, once it never got to anyone, I was like, oh, no. I need it to get to people, and I need to see them receiving it in order to get,
Yeah,
high.
right. Yeah, of course. See them receiving it. Yeah.
So I went to Vegas, and every night I got to see them like, they would start, people would come in when I decided whether I was going to take the show or not. I went to go see it, and I saw people just sitting there like this.
Yeah.
And by the end of the show, the same people looked like this. They looked like, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll definitely take the show.
That's so great. Is that where
and I
you got
learned-
interested in clowning, or how did clowning come about?
I was studying clown when I lived in Chicago. There was this show called 500 Clown, which was 3 people, and they would attempt to do some beautiful play, kind of like what we're doing with Three Sisters. They would attempt to do, Shakespeare, right? They do Macbeth, but it's like they're exposing themselves in the process of trying to do Macbeth. They're playing an archetype of themselves, so they're throwing fits when they don't get to play the lead, and they're wrestling, and they're, it's like they climbed over the audience, tackling each other for some prop that they all wanted. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, this feels like dangerous theater, and it really, this was at Steppenwolf Garage, and it was just like, whoa, this is really cool. So I studied with them, and then I was bit. But someone from my improv group, Mike O'Brien, was like, Jet, I just took this workshop, and it's just so you. And it was 500 Clown. And we were all clowns in the Reckoning. In my improv group, we were all clowns. So I don't think a clown is someone necessarily who needs to be trained. I think a clown is somebody who's funny naturally. You know what I mean?
And they just put them on stage and give them a problem.
It's like somebody who knows not to get in their own way. They're just themselves. And when they're themselves, we see their child and we laugh at them. Some people have to learn how to shed that again, shed all the crap. But if you are in touch with your inner child, you're probably ready to start clowning today. You don't really need training.
Wow. Okay, hold on. Okay, now you have to tell me about Clown Church.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm giving you a little bit of that. I got to get a Boney to have like a really deep laugh. You know what I mean? Like I can give my performance.
Yeah, like I just.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, when I came back after Absinthe, I did a year up in Portland. I studied a little bit of film, but then I came back and I thought, okay, you know what? I really do think my deepest love is the stage, and we're all going to die. So I might as well do what I love before I die and just keep clowning. And so, because you're like, certainly I need to make money. But then it was, nah, maybe not. And so I started running these open workshops, and the only time that the Lyric had available was Sunday morning. So I was like, sure, I'll do it. So I started doing almost every Sunday at the Lyric. People would drop in, and the numbers were building. And it was just like, basically, it was an experience where you would get into the clown state, an altered state. And we would do little exercises, but what we did was less important than the feeling that you had, which was that feeling of, surfing, riding the energy of the room. And I wanted to give everybody a taste of that so they could bring that into their own work. Because in clown, it's less about the external world and more about the inner world, the inner landscape of how you feel, how deeply you are connected to, yourself, and then therefore others, being able to read the room, feel the room. And so every week we did something different, but it all had to do with finding that state. So the warm-ups were long and strange, and it would get people. And then that feeling would spread throughout the room. Sometimes 30 people are very altered, doing this weird ceremony of carrying each other. And then eventually we'd go into these little scenettes, but the scenes were so alive, and the work was quite good because everyone was altered. There are directors who, I don't know if you've ever seen, Werner Herzog one time did a film where he hypnotized the cast before.
I haven't seen that one. At least I don't think I have. Did they talk about it in the movie that they're hypnotizing everybody?
If you watch his masterclass, they talk about a film where he just thought it would be pretty cool to hypnotize. And when I saw that, I was like, yes, I'm so into that. So I probably planted a seed. And then we would have these crazy experiences, and we'd all leave like so blissed out. People would come in the space after, and they're like, what happened in here? Really? So because of the spiritual nature of the work, not trying to be spiritual, I just can't help it. It's deep in me to be a hippie or a bohemian, whatever you want to call it.
Don't apologize for that, please.
It's just my nature.
Not on this show, at least.
Is clown intrinsically spiritual? I can't tell you, but when I do it, it is. And then because it was Sunday mornings, we started calling it Clown Church. And now kind of everything I do is under that guise, because I want people to know when they step in, things are going to get a little freaky, you know, like let's be ready. And most people then they find it knowing, oh, okay, this is going to be a trip. I've literally found people who came to me because they were at a party and they said, you know, I've done ayahuasca and I'm just searching for that feeling. And someone said, you should go to Clown Church.
Yeah, I have heard, someone has told me that too about this. They're like, because I'm like, people are like, you should take mushrooms or you should do ayahuasca. And I'm like, I'm too scared to do anything like that. And I've just not been a person that takes drugs, and mainly out of fear of what I would do. But then somebody was saying, yeah, you know, this, you can get to this like kind of euphoric state or this psychedelic kind of state through clowning. And I was like, what? You can? Yeah. That is so cool. So that happens every Sunday? Did you say?
It was. And then the pandemic happened. And so then I started, a few people from Clown Church hit me up and said, would you work with us outside with masks on, you know, small groups? And I said, sure. And then I started working with them and we created the Highland Park Clowns, which was a group who's kind of taking the work of Clown Church and kind of creating pieces out of it. Every show is different. Sometimes we attempt to do a play. Other times we, you know, they do individual pieces. Like it's always different. We're always tackling, you know, clown from another angle. But we just had a show last week and it was so beautiful. It's really about being raw and real and vulnerable and just pushing the limits of what theater can be. I mean, I'm interested in that Brechtian kind of element, which is, you know, by breaking the fourth wall, we're actually breaking the fourth wall of our own life.
Yeah. And I think, like I was saying there, when you come to the show as an audience member, you just really feel this electricity in there. Like something's going to happen. Even if it's the first time you've ever been to one of these things and you don't even know what it is. You can feel it when you sit in there. And there's an excitement going on in the crowd and even like a communal kind of feeling.
Yeah, because you're all part of the show.
Yeah.
I saw a show a few months ago where there was a very small turnout, but it was maybe 8 of us, but the person was such a phenomenal performer and they really interacted with us and we were each part of the show. By the end, every audience member was hugging each other goodbye, even though we didn't know each other. At the end, we all felt like we knew
you had an experience. Like you didn't just fake an experience, you actually had an experience. And I think that might be some of the difference sometimes is you go see a traditional play, sometimes the people are making an experience happen beyond the fourth wall there where you can't touch them and God forbid you you yell something out or something like that. And they're trying to ignore that you're there. And that is more like you're a voyeur.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm very interested in exponential growth. I just love that feeling of growing quickly. So anytime I've tried anything in life and I don't feel that growth, I'm like, oh, maybe, that's not a path I'm supposed to go down. But with clown, I always feel like every show I'm tinkering and I'm figuring out, oh my gosh, that's how you stay more connected to the audience. Oh, there I got, too scared and I backed off or I did something clever to protect myself. And so you can grow rather quickly in clown if you're brave.
I find it interesting that sometimes when you're explaining a concept, you close your eyes and you're seeing it somewhere else. I mean, in your mind. Is that something you do, visualize things, or do you find yourself a very visual person?
Yeah, so I close my eyes often when I'm saying something that's not mine.
It's like you're listening to the...
I'm just letting it come through me.
I love that. Do you teach a lot too, right?
Yeah.
So do you find that as a teacher that sometimes being a teacher is just about channeling?
Yeah, and on a good day.
On a good day, yeah. When you're not really grinding.
Otherwise, it's work.
Well, it's just like in performance, it's work sometimes to get to a place. I took a class with Eric Davis, the Red Bastard, and he was talking about obligatory actions. So like you're on stage and you're doing something that feels obligatory, like you're doing it not for anybody or yourself. And so then you realize that and then you change and you try and find something that you really enjoy. Do you think, is that something that you're playing with when you're performing as well? Or is that particular kind of clown?
I think that's a beautiful way of saying it. I I think ultimately that's probably a pretty universal truth,
Yeah.
which is we can all fall into obligation if we're not focused. We'll just
focused and present.
Focused and present. Yeah.
Wow. Do you think so stand-ups? I heard about stand-up, I'm a stand-up comedian, the other comedians, they're like starting to go, you got to do this clown thing. Like I'm doing this clown thing over there. Everybody's like doing the clown thing. Do you think there's something to be gained for stand-ups through doing clown exercises for the stand-up stage?
Oh, probably. I bet. It depends on your aesthetic. If the stand-up is like, listen, everything's going really good in my stand-up, I'm destroying, then you probably don't need to change anything. But if you're like, hey, I'd like a better relationship with the audience, then I think clown could help. I know I said it was an aesthetic, but then I thought, no, it's probably also a level of more than anything, a level of connection, which isn't even goes beyond aesthetic. But I think all my favorite stand-ups have an element of clown in them.
I think so too. That's what I think.
They're playing the room. And then you look at like Rory's newest special.
Yeah.
And he's just playing the room the whole time. And it makes it feel so alive. Have you watched Rory
I haven't
Scovel?
seen. I got to see it. We're talking about Rory Scovel, who's been doing a lot of clowning with Chad and other people. I definitely have to check that out. I didn't know. Sometimes I'm not aware.
I think Rory is a clown by nature, and he's also an improviser. He's one of the few stand-ups who really does a lot of improv as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so he in his newest special, I mean, it feels so alive and risky, and like he's so he's so playing with the construction of what this is and the rules of stand-up. He's like really pushing down walls. He literally takes a time out during his show. And he's, wait, what? And he leaves and comes back, and he's just really pushing it. And I love it. It's so playful. It really opened my mind. That night I saw his special. I went to sleep and I had dreams about my show that I'm working on. By nature, I'm not really a solo artist, but you get to a place in life where you constantly, I want a thing I can tinker with, I can play with, that isn't dependent on other people's schedules. And all my friends are so talented and busy that sometimes we'll be working on something and then they have to leave for a while. And I'm like, I need something to work on. And so I thought, let me always have one thing that I can work on by myself. And so I developed a solo show for that reason. I also saw some people doing solo work where they were really having fun. And I thought, you know what, there's a way for me to have fun with the audience. So I'm not really alone. And so I started a solo show and I tinker with it, and I'll go whenever I travel, and I'm like, I'll put it up here, I'll put it up there. And so I'm taking it to Sarasota in July for a festival. And
what is your solo show called?
Touched.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I was looking at that and wondering, sometimes with the internet, you never know what's happening now, Somebody says like there's this happening. So that's the thing, is being an improv artist, being a clown, being all these, and a stand-up, I find, are great ways to explore yourself. Sometimes people shun that, they're like, stand-up comedy is not therapy, or being an actor is not therapy. But I mean, it can be. You know what I mean? I realize that the focus might be on the audience. Maybe your focus is on the audience and pleasing the audience. I don't know, but definitely, what's the point of doing something if you're not enjoying it, right? And you're not getting something out of it.
Yeah, and I also imagine the rehearsal process will show you what you need to look at. So, to me, it's not therapy, but it will show you where you ache, and then you can go to a therapist.
Yeah, and then you're going to go to an
actual rehearsal process.
It's not going to fix you, but it's definitely exploratory into the human condition.
The rehearsal process shines a light on who you are. The show, I don't want my shows to be therapy, because I'd like them to be art,
Yeah. That's a good point. So somebody, Jack Grapes, the great writing teacher, he says, we don't care that the audience doesn't care that the dancer's toes are broken or whatever. They still want to see her standing on point, and it's irrelevant. So sometimes you gotta work through that pain and also make it about them. Because like that's what I think is bad about like bad improv is you go there and you feel like they had a party on stage and the audience is just like you're paying for it. You know what I mean?
I would say majority of improv is like people are having a great time doing it, but it's rarely pleasurable to watch.
Yeah, that's the way I feel too. I mean, and I was in Chicago for a long time, and I was with Steppenwolf, working at Steppenwolf, but I never delved into the whole improv because that was the impression I had of it, which I regret because I think there's something to be gained. Yeah, and there's some really great stuff. And as a performer, there's a lot of possibility to explore performing by doing these various things like improv, stand-up, and clown, because they're not contingent upon necessarily anybody else. You know?
Yeah.
You're not waiting for someone to give you permission to do it. And you could do it out on the street if you wanted to do it.
Totally. I think that may be part of the reason there's such a big boom right now in clown is you can do it anywhere. We're not so restricted.
Yeah, and that's a really beautiful thing.
It's a grassroots movement in theater is clown for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've gotten to the end of the show. This has been super interesting and really just a blessing to have you on the show, Jet. Now, of course, we're going to dance. Are you ready to do some dancing? All right, let's do it.
Always.
All right. And thanks everybody in the chat room. Everybody loves Honey Bear, your dog.
Oh.
Honey Bear was walking around on the bed back there. Todd Lee says, hi, puppy. Looks like your pup shares the bed as well as my Bernese mountain dog, he said. Yeah.
I love Bernese.
So thanks to Honey Bear for being on the show as well. And now we're going to dance it out. Thanks, everybody, for being here. This has been Lunch Therapy number 558. Wow. All right, here we go. This rumpus machine from New Zealand. These are kids. They're all brothers and sisters.
You gotta keep them separated. Just like the latest fashion, just like you're spreading disease. The kids are strapping on their way to the classroom, getting weapons with the greatest of ease. The gangs say guard on the canvas look out, and if they catch you slipping then it's all over proud. If one guy's colors and the others don't think, they're gonna bash it up, bash it up, bash it up, bash it up. Hey! Now you're talking back to me. Take them out, you gotta keep them separated. Hey! Now you're disrespecting me. Take them out, you gotta keep them separated. Hey, they don't pay.